As we are in the middle of this Newsx Bharat Progress Report 2025, tracking the 101 milestones achieved by India in this calendar year across 10 categories, a listicle, a ready reckoner, a compendium for you out there. Let's pick up category number 3, people's welfare. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest takeaway on this was the GST reform. The slabs changing to 0, 5, 18 and 40% will the vast majority of things, staples, things that you and buy every day, to all the way to automobiles, becoming significantly cheaper in the latter half of this year, September onwards 2025. You all remember it well. It happened this year for historic generations to recall. Now have a look at point number 22 in our 101 listicle, street vendors. Rediwalas. A few years ago, this PM SVANidhi scheme was launched so that they could get easy loans. Well, believe it or not, your Rediwalas, the street vendors, received loans of more than 15,000 crore rupees under this PM SVANidhi scheme. Those are lives being transformed with small entrepreneurs who literally start off from a hand cart. 15,000 crores of loans disbursed to them. Point number 23. Basic amenities, tap water, so that you don't have to take a ghada to a well or to a nearby river and walk dozens of kilometers in a day to have water tapped to your home. 81.42% Indian rural households have now water coming through a pipe and a nalka in their houses. Target, of course, is cent% saturation, but this was what was achieved in 2025. Now, there is something called the Ayushman Vay Vandana health insurance. This is particularly for the elderly above the age of 70. Well, 8.6 million of these cards were issued to the roughly 6 crore people who qualify in that age in this country. 8.6 million of them who otherwise could not get private health insurance because of their age. Well, they now have health insurance thanks to this scheme. That's an important milestone in people's welfare. Point number 25. Now have a look at this. Just under 31 crores, 30.98 crore unorganized workers have now registered themselves by 2025 on something called the e-Shram portal. Now the e-Shram portal is something that if you are a gig worker or a manual laborer, you can go register yourself and seek not only benefits that accrue to you, access to schemes that accrue to you, but also create a pool from which employers can come and make job offers. Well, have a look at that. 31 crore, that's 310 million people have registered on this portal in the digitization of India's governance. Point number 26. 125 days, 125 days of wage employment per rural household has now been committed under the new scheme, which you now know is called the VB-G-Ramji scheme. Now, this is ensuring that not only now you get 125 instead of 100, which means a 25% improvement in the number of paid days that you get as a worker, but also that these schemes are not just about digging holes, but they're actually producing rural infrastructure for the village that you live in. Major milestone of 2025 in people's welfare. Well, here's one that has been progressively going through leaps and bounds since it was originated a decade ago, PM Jan Dhan. Ladies and gentlemen, 55 crore accounts have now been created in PM Jan Dhan. So that milestone was crossed in 2025 with 2.68 lakh crores of monies in those accounts. These are people who did not have bank accounts. 55 crore of them now do, so they have access to banking services and they have 2.68 lakh crores cumulative banking deposits for people who had no access to formal financial institutions. That milestone was crossed in 2025. Point number 28, something which idea was so simple that if you're a ration card holder in one particular state, but you are working in a different particular state, and you can't get ration, well, One India, One Ration card was begun, and in 2025 it was implemented in all 36 states and union territories, which means any resident of India from one state can claim ration in another state. Major milestone achievement of 2025. Point number 29. And this is an index that tells you that the cost of preparing a meal, vegetarian and non-vegetarian, a thali meal like we call it, has gone down by 13%. So food procurement is at record highs, logistics costs are at record lows, retail inflation is at record lows, well, at least lows in the past several decades, and that has an impact on the most basic thing, the food that people eat or you can eat that sustains your life. Point number 30 on your screens. 25 lakh people were trained under something called the PMKVY 4.0, and this scheme, which is a skill development scheme, has expanded into AI, robotics, Internet of Things, major milestone achievements that are taking place.